the two top dogs in bow hunting sights right now. I gotta find like a broadhead or something to open this with. The Axcel Driver and the Ultraview UV Slider 2. So I just got these from Podium Archer for almost the exact same price. And we're gonna put them head to head. Not just down here in my basement dungeon, but we're gonna use these for the next week and put them against each other in their build quality, the ease to set them up, their sight picture, overall value, and ultimately, by the end of the video, the category that beats them all is which one will I be hunting with this September. We're going to start with the underdog when it comes to the packaging front, the Axcel Driver. We got both of them in a horizontal 3-pin. Here with the packaging, Axcel kept it pretty basic with a little hard case, and you've got nice packaging foam in here. We've got included metal sight tapes if that's your thing. Right away, this thing comes with a jacked up third axis. If you can see that, we're gonna need a little bit of adjustment. It is not very close out of the box. That's all right. We'll shoot this guy in, but for now, and there she is. Let's talk very first impressions here with the Axcel Driver. As far as build quality goes, nothing feels cheap. The only plastic part that I'm finding on here right now is your adjustable fiber optic cover, which I love this feature. I found myself, the last time I had a sight that had an adjustable shade, using it. So anytime I was out in the really bright sun, no tree cover, I would throw my shade over my fibers to get a more fine aiming point. And when you work your way into the timber, you open that thing up and have really bright pins again. So initial impressions, I really like it. The knob, I will say right away, I don't know why they didn't just make the knob about twice as thick as it is. It would make it a lot more ergonomic. You wouldn't have to tuck your fingers in between the knob and where your sight bolts in. I don't know why they didn't just make it wider. I know they were really pushing the limits of how light they can get this thing, but it'd be a welcome little extra girth, you know what I mean? But very nice. They were out of the black, so I went with the gray, just so I get this video to you guys sooner. Moving on. Packaging champion, obviously, our Ultraview Slider 2. Ultraview obviously has taken some of its inspiration from Apple, where they go ahead and overdo the packaging, just max out the user experience, and this thing is no exception. Magnetic closed box. So it comes with a travel case. I like to see that. That's kind of how you feel when you open this thing. It kind of needs that heavenly harmony, you know? It just feels right when you're looking at a package like this. As you can see, we did opt for the direct mount version of the UV slider. The direct mount cuts down a ton on cost. Unfortunately, to get the UV to be the same price as our Axcel Driver and compare them apples to apples, the direct mount is the only option. As you can see, same horizontal 3-pin. Oh, just like that. All right, so Ultraview Slider 2 first impressions. One, I think everyone knows one of the best features that the Ultraview has is the ergonomics, right? There is no windage adjustment in the way of you sliding the sight, which, I mean, that's the whole point of a slider, right? You're gonna use the knob to adjust your sight pretty dang often, right? The sight picture is virtually identical to our driver. Side by side, it looks like the driver's pins are a lot finer. Not only the fibers themselves, but the actual bars that the fibers sit in. If I was just looking at these side by side, I'm gonna say I really like the driver's sight picture a lot better. Anyways, too early to make a judgment on that. But as far as ergonomics go, I mean, this thing, it beats everything on the market as far as ergonomics, right? Everything feels really good. The only plastic I'm feeling on the Ultraview is the housing for the fibers on the front of the sight here. It looks like we have an adjustable top and bottom pin, and then that middle red pin is not adjustable, which is the same as the Slider 1, which I used extensively. I mean, everything here looks really good. I'd say as far as fit and finish, just like looking at it, which one seems nicer, the fact this is all one compact package without bolts that need to get adjusted all over it, I would say that's 1 point up for the Ultraview. But it's worth noting, this is a bit of a China versus America discussion as well. These are assembled in America, but most of the parts are from China. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to count it against Ultraview for the sake of this video. Overall fit and finish, I'm going to give first impression point to Ultraview. We don't buy sights to stare at them on a table. We buy them to shoot them, and ideally shoot them at animals effectively. So let's move on. All right, so we're here at 20 yards with the Axcel Driver, and I'm playing a little bit with these, and I'm playing a little bit with the micro drive pins, and I gotta say, it's probably the best setup. It's pretty sweet. So I'll show you a little bit about how that works. But basically, if you want to adjust the pins in your pin gap in the housing, all you have to do is loosen the bolt on the pin you want to move, and it's micro drive from the bottom. It's not going to be able to get much better than that. So we got our 20 about doped in on the Axcel Driver, and so far I'm already liking these pins. Back here at 40, gonna sling some arrows, just spend some time behind this thing. The good news is I'm coming from a black gold dual track, and my peep still lines up with the housing, so that's pretty exciting. Back here at 60, the 10 thousandths pins are still looking pretty nice. Pretty nice. So back here at 50, and how I like to set up a 3-pin, and I heavily recommend this if you're shooting a fast bow. This thing is at like right at 300 foot a second, 430 grain arrow with 80 pounds, 28-inch draw length. What I like to do is a 30, 40, and 50 on a 3-pin, because if you try to do a 20, 30, 40, your pins are so stacked together anyways, they start to mess up your sight picture, where you start to get really crowded, and you're just not reaching as far as you can without sight adjustment. Like, I can shoot out 250 yards without moving my sight, where if I was shooting a traditional 20, 30, 40, I would have to dial past 40, hypothetically. I've already set up my 30 and 40 pin with the micro adjust. It's pretty sweet. I'm guessing we'll be a little bit low here at 50, but let's give it a go. Not much in there. That target is at an angle, so those nocks are getting kicked up a little bit. That looks pretty decent. It's right on that tape. It's looking pretty good. I will say, day 2 with the Axcel Driver, I really do like that sight picture. Once I get those pins spread out a little more, out of the box, they come pretty tight together. Once I spread them out to my 30, 40, and 50 mark, it's pretty clean. That 10 thousandths pin looks pretty nice here at 50. So far, the setup with the Driver has been pretty user-friendly. Looks like arrows in the Matthews Low Pro Quiver. See that? Just barely don't touch, but they pass. So UV Slider 2 here back at 40 yards. And the setup process in this one's a little bit different than the Axcel Driver. Just kind of looking at them, the analogy that comes to mind is the Axcel Driver is like driving a manual. Like, it's got all of these adjustments that you can make. It's got 50 different bolts on it to adjust. You can micro adjust each of the 3 pins individually, where you look at the UV Slider, and of course it's got all the same screws that you need for adjustment, but really the only 2 things you got are your windage adjustment on the inside and your elevation on the outside. It's like an automatic car. Anyways, the setup is a little bit different because, as you can see on the front of the housing here, you cannot adjust the middle pin. You can adjust the top and the bottom. The middle stays in the center of the housing. And if you like a middle pin as your floater, your slider on your sight tape, that's awesome. If you prefer your top or your bottom pin, it's gonna be a little bit harder to get that perfect, but that's all right. For me, I like my top pin to be my slider because I can put that in the center of my housing and then have a little bit more open field of view around the pin. But anyways, I digress. When you're talking about setting this up, it's very important that you sight in your middle pin first. So if I'm doing a 30, 40, and a 50, here I am at 40. Touch low. Same spot. Couple clicks to the left as well, I think. If you've seen my last video or 2 and you're following along, the Deep Power cheap Amazon nocks are still holding up really good. Still very bright. No durability issues so far. I've broken a couple arrows, but no knock issues. The switches on them are very convenient. The 15,000s pins in those thicker bars, those thicker bars, if you will, are definitely apparent. I can't quite see through them as good as I'd like with those 10,000s on the driver. Not a real issue or complaint, but I'm just noting the finer pins that are available in the 10,000s on the driver is definitely noticeable. And when I say I can see through the pin, if you shoot with both eyes open, it creates a little bit more of a holographic effect where you can see behind your pin. Definitely the most effective way to aim. There we go. Left and right, pretty dang good. For elevation, it looks like we're in the tape now. So this is our 40. Instead of adjusting the pin, what you can do now that I got that set, I'm gonna crack our 0 stop and just bump this down to where it's gonna touch exactly where I want my 40 to start. Remember, this does not have the micro adjust pins that the driver has. So what we have to do is adjust the bolts here on the back. And if you crack these, if you've ever adjusted a fixed pin sight back in the day, or most sliding sights now, these multi-sight pins are pretty hard to set in the exact spot. If you use your sight tape as a reference to set your other pins, I'd be sure to shoot them in. These things are really hard to get exactly where you want them. So make sure you shoot them in, verify them time and time again. Not the end of the world. The driver does get a point for those micro adjust pins though. Pretty cool. Not bad. Now what I really want to do is get a lot of reps on both the sights. And because the sight pictures are noticeably different, these pins are a lot thicker than my preference. I want to step back to 80 or 90 at some point and really start to compare them at distance. Day 3 or 4, I don't remember, but we're a couple days into shooting these sights head to head. And now that I've shot them plenty, 50 and in, we're gonna back up to 70 and 80 yards to see how I like the sight picture. I mean, I've pretty much got a feel now of the ergonomics of the sights, setting them up and sighting them in. So I guess now for me to decide which sight I'm gonna be hunting with. Right now it's pretty even. What I wanna do is see how I like the sight picture at the extended ranges, how accurate I feel like I can shoot them. That's really what it's gonna come down to. As you can see down there, I did shoot out the 12 and the surrounding 10 ring on my elk target. So I put a little white piece of tape down there. The piece of tape is further back than obviously would be ideal, but gives me a little bit better aiming point where my arrows aren't gonna fly right through that insert. So right here is 65. I don't have sight tapes on either of these bows. I'm only going to keep one sight. So I can't be marring these things up with using up the sight tapes and everything else. Which means we're gonna do a little bit of educated guessing. Let's see where this puts us. That's pretty close, actually. I think we're in the ballpark enough. Let's try the elk. UV slider 2, 65 yards. Guessing on the yardage. A little further. So far, I am liking everything about the UV slider 2. The biggest hesitation I have is the sight picture. It's worth noting that, yes, it only comes in the 15 thousandths pin. You can put, I think it's the UV3 scope housing on this for a 10 thousandths pin, but I'm kind of trying to compare out of the box to out of the box, if that makes sense. And end of the day, when it comes to pins anyhow, it's all personal preference. If I like a 10 thousandths pin, there's gonna be plenty of guys out there who prefer a 20 thousandths pin. So, whatever floats your boat, you know what I mean? Not great. So I hope it is just a first axis issue, but the sun, the way it's coming down, is perfectly coming through the front of this scope housing and hitting all this mass and structure behind the pin.
I haven't focused on. Okay.
So those pins are just looking enormous with all that sun on them. I think if you had that first axis just tilted back into alignment, hopefully that problem would go away. There is a piece of me that really hopes that it's not a pin brightness issue, because everyone knows the flack I gave UV on that last year. But I'm having a hard time distinguishing the pin from that bar in this exact lighting condition, because that bar is getting so bright, that pin is getting blown out. All right. I am having a little bit of a hard time, to be completely honest. Let's go back to 80. Back here at 80 with the Axcel Driver. The sun has gone down a little bit, so it's not the exact same light conditions, but we're gonna get a good look at the sight picture. Try to put a little group on that elk. I have not got an 80 mark, so wherever they land is where they land. Where's that one at? Pretty good elevation for a guess. They're like an inch or so apart, just to the left of that. I'm really trying to like soak it in. I'm really trying to decide. This is not gonna be easy. It doesn't help that neither company gave me a product for free. Neither company's paying me. So I have to decide based on which one I actually like. I think both of them are pretty awesome. Both of them are fantastic. You're not gonna make the wrong decision either way. The good news is I have to make a decision because one of these either has to get sold or returned. I can't afford to keep both. So let's head inside and tally up the points. So I've been shooting both sights now for the entire week, and I really like both of them. Each of these is so much better than what I used to hunt with and started with when I started playing with bows and shooting in the backyard. Both of these are a lot better than any of those. But when it comes to the categories that I laid out at the beginning of the video, when it comes to build, they're both robust, right? Like neither of them has any obvious durability issues or bad machining, anything that makes me concerned about the quality. So, because it's so sleek in such a finished package, that category is going to go to the Ultraview. In the next category, ease of setup, we've got the micro drive pins. So the Axcel takes the cake when it comes to setting this up. See, I tinker a lot. So for me, when I'm on my second or third arrow build of the year, when I'm having to set up 3 or 4 or 5 sight tapes, having micro drive pins is going to make my life a whole lot better. Now I want to skip and I want to talk a little bit about the value equation. If you ask me, to be honest, I don't know why bow sights are over $500. I really don't. Black Gold puts out phenomenal quality product in the 300s. It misses a couple features that these offer. It's sad to see the prices go up and to the right like they are in archery. But as part of the value equation, it's important to note that yes, these came out within $10 of each other. But if you actually want to compare apples to apples and look at a bridge lock UV slider, it ends up being $100 more expensive than your driver. So yes, the ergonomics are not as good. The Ultraview's ergonomics are better, period. Value equation, Axcel takes the cake. I was thinking about this last night, and I was thinking about how to frame this question in my mind because I love so much about these. And to be honest, I love the feel of this Ultraview slider so much and how good it looks, right? Like we're all a glutton for having a pretty bow. I think we'd all admit that it's just not as pretty as the UV2. Obviously that doesn't matter. So how I was thinking in my mind is, which sight do I want to have on my bow when I have a bull step out at 40 yards? Or I have a mule deer stand up in its bed at 65 yards? Which sight would I rather have on my bow? And for me, one of the most important things is what am I actually using to aim at that animal, the sight picture. And unfortunately for the Ultraview, the Axcel Driver sight picture is beautiful. Those pins get so fine, not only the fibers, because yes, we're talking about a 10,000th versus a 15,000th fiber, but the actual pin structure in the housing, it's so much finer. And I can have so much more confidence with the micro drive pins that I have them perfectly dialed in for a 30, 40, and a 50. Yes, the slider mechanism is better on the UV2. It just is. It's better. When it comes down to it, I think I like the Ultraview better here at the table when I'm just looking at them side by side. In a real hunting situation, I'm going to take the driver. I hate the tensioner. I hate that this knob is not as big as it should be, but those pale in comparison to the confidence that I have looking through this sight. So for me, this will be the sight that you see on my hunting bow this entire fall. This is probably gonna end up being a little bit of a longer video. If you made it all the way to the end here, drop a like and a comment. Please subscribe. I'm trying to put out a lot more videos now that our life is evened out a little bit getting out of the hospital. But there's still a lot of work to be done here in the summer before we head out west and when the whitetail season starts up here in Iowa. But let me know if you want to see a part 2 on these sites going head to head, or what comparison or setup questions that you have. Just drop them in the comments, and may God bless you all.